Hel- Hello? I... Okay. There's, there's, there's no such thing as a best soup. Uh, we are for, for a, free enterprise. We're doing a tournament. I don't know if y'all are aware of this. It's been going for a little bit. But we've got a, a, uh, a race here between Dustygriff and Infinious. And, I'm Dijon Ketchup, and I am joined by the lovely...
Uh, I mean, I wouldn't know about Lovely, but you are definitely joined by the one and only Leggy Starscream. So, tonight we have Infinious, Dustygriff, competing with each other for the honorable task of taking on Peasants OMFG in the next round. Both of these runners doing some incredible work on the bracket so far, taking out some very well-known names so far to get where they are in this round of 8.
Indeed.
So, Dijon, what do you think of this start? You know, these objectives, that Sid, Infinious's naming scheme.
I mean... Yeah, I think, see, we've got some, Beatles, references going on here. And starting with a Sid, maybe early on we'll find, Maxwell's silver hammer for him to equip.
Yep. Sid, I always like Sid as a starting character. You know, if you get any of those J items that proc off HP totals, his starting 700 something is just really nice. And especially because we're on a double boss hunt, being able to just say, you know what, I'm just going to take these early bosses, no matter who I'm with, in case they need levels. And they might turn out to be Dr. Dialogue or Ogopogo.
Indeed. So, without further ado, it looks like we're off to the races.
I would hope so. It's about time for that.
Alright, so, Kane. Oh, okay. Alright. Well, that's a start. That's, well, we might be hearing a sound clip not too far in the future.
Yeah, because Party Rock is in the house tonight. We just want to go open some boxes.
You're not even sorry for Party Rockin', are you?
Never. Never apologize for Party Rockin'. That does solve the question that a lot of runners face when starting off some of these seeds of what do I loot first? How much do I loot? Getting that Party Rock, getting into the Troya Treasury early is going to hopefully set up these runners very nicely.
And, well.
And looks like Infinious is opting to go for the other bosses in here, while Dusty is going straight for everyone's favorite game show.
Oh, that's already a nice start. We got that, curse ring.
Runax and an Earth.
Yeah, that Earth Hammer, you get some early AoE, because it can be used as an item when equipped by Sid to cast Quake. And of course, a Rune Axe is a Rune Axe.
Yeah, at this point, I think all our runners really need are a white magic stick and a black magic stick, and they've basically got everything they'd want out of a box.
So that was a fairly synchronized start.
Yeah, I feel like the Earth Crystal has that effect on things. Dustygriff is going to give us the Troya shock checks first.
And Infinious is gonna go to Mount Hobbs. Well, there's Star Veils and Life.
Yeah. Infinious looking at the item inventory to see what he can sell off before remembering, oh right, nothing sells for anything in this flag set. That I can't just get a stack of Star Veils here. While Infinious is honestly at this point, I would take that Cade into the end game with that loadout.
Yeah, also that cane came with a dancing dagger, so if we find, like, an Edward or Iridia, be decent early game damage.
Yep, but let's see who's atop the mountain today.
It's a twin. I can't remember from the colors.
That would be a Porum, so we got a white magic caster.
I see the shoulder pads now. Also, is this Mylon in your head? In your head?
No, we're doing Beatles references.
Zombie. 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 Eh.
Eh?
Eh.
Yeah, that's going to go down rather quickly with a party composition like this. Is Infinious cashing that big bomb to just take down that Mylon with minimal effort. While Dustygriff is opting to swing with Sid for almost half the same damage.
Aha. Aha. Ah. That's how that goes, right?
Who's that Pokemon? It's Golbez! That's how that goes, right?
Something like that.
But yeah, you are really happy to see that out of the way early, especially in such a low magic attack spot. Or wait, is this the other way? No, wait, Antlion has a magical counter. It's the counter ability, so this actually is low.
I mean, she hit the flow.
Yeah, I think Porum did for Infinious, yes. Wait, what happened to Dusty's? Oh wait, no, Sid's in the air. I mean, Cade's in the air.
I mean, you gotta throw your cane in the air like you just don't care.
Well, I mean, I care a lot about what the Golbez is holding on to at the very least. That is a pass.
Yeah, our runners definitely passed that Golbez test.
Yep. Pass being super useful for the end game. Our runners will be very happy to know that if they have to go up to the moon for the last couple of objectives, they can just use the pass door in Troya and end this seed right where it started. Not that it even matters. Oh, that's a boss here in the Baronin.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Cane Jump will take out this, but Infinious seems to be going for the extra character rather than going for, say, the Ordeals play or the Fabul play. What are your thoughts on that one, Dishon?
No thoughts, head empty.
Get it. Well, luckily Valvalis is not the difficult one here.
Sparkle, sparkle. Hey!
That's an objective, let's go!
We got a danger noodle. That thing is required, but also not blocking progress to the underground.
Yeah,
because of that Valvalis.
Which is interesting, because we do have one extra check on the table right now that could lead us underground. That being...
Oh gosh.
Up the Tower of Zont.
That being said, there could be either a Magma Key or a hook here. It just means that the other one would have to be accessible
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is not an easy fight for our runners right now. As you can see, Ogo is hitting like a truck, and those waves aren't necessarily helping either.
Infinious having to take a reset.
Yeah, a good effort, and definitely useful information. If, say, Dustygriff finds a Magma Key up here at the top of Mount Ordeals, he might choose to just go straight underground and leave that Baron check till much later. Whereas Infinious will definitely make a beeline back there once he feels he can take out the Nope Noodle effectively. Oh hey, another Sparkle.
We got some Dark Imps back attacking on Mount Ordeals.
Yep, another one of those bosses that in the late game becomes super free because they don't have the boss bit that makes them immune to status effects. Here, not really a threat, but you really want to see them later where you can just cheese them. Sorry?
What?
Oh, I was just going to say that Infinious has found his underground access.
Yep. And, well, it's the one you don't want to see.
Normally, yes. It is not the underground access you want, but it is, that extra character check, the 2 extra boss checks, and half of trading away to Pinktail. So I do feel like this particular flag set takes a little bit of the edge off getting that hook.
No, we don't have Edge yet.
Well, Dustygriff might soon.
No, that's an Octomam.
Yeah, but like, Octomam is, the entire package you want out of a boss. And it looks like Infinious is making a beeline over to the hook route. Definitely going to check that gated shop, too. This could be where our sirens are hiding for the seed in a shop, if there are even sirens for sale at all.
Yep. You'd be surprised. Well, maybe not. I don't think anyone would be surprised, actually. 'Cause, most people know that you're not guaranteed sirens.
Yeah, it's about a 90%
Speaking of,
chance. I can't believe I called that. So, if you're Dustygriff, do you check that package, boss?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because, well, if you don't know where, Ogopogo is yet, which I don't recall, Dusty.
Dusty has not been into the Baronin yet.
Yeah. So if you have 2 boss checks on the board, maybe you would, especially early on. And you could, if it's a good character, you know.
Such as, I don't know, Fusoya.
Help.
Yeah, that is a huge pickup for Infinious. Getting that early Fusoya. Fusoya. These seeds are really proving the power of Fu.
That's the power of Fu. Okay, well that's a Rosa there, so Dusty not gonna go through.
Yeah, feeling comfortable with the other white mage already in his party, decides to fade the rose in the sun.
Porum, the other white mage.
Yeah. You know, you got Rosa and you got the other one. Love you, Debbie. Asuka chiming in that Sid with a stack of Tier 3s is a solid white mage too, and, you know, we'll take that.
Well, speaking of white mages, you could use white magic on the D-Lunars to harm them.
Yep, they do count as undead.
They're zombies!
Yes. How many more undead monsters do we, bosses do we have at this point? I just need to know how much more time I've got to bust out the 99 red balloons.
I think you can really only afford 99 red balloons in Supermarket Sweep.
Fair. Dusty does get a Sylph Summon for his trouble looting the other half of the Fabul Towers. But yeah, looks like both of our runners are in the process of retracing the other steps. Dusty's going to get the information about the Valvalis, and then we'll see whether or not he can take out everyone's favorite Canadian Nope Noodle this time. Hey Dijon,
Hey, Leggy.
what does a pirate say when he drops his quarters?
Me changed!
A little early on the joke for me, unfortunately. I wasn't counting HP as well as I had thought. But yeah, we've got the. In case we didn't mention it, we have the Dark Elf on Infinious' side, and Phase 2. Oh, that's just a nice one cast. I was really hoping Fusoya had one of those spells that actually works on the second phase of Dark Elf.
Yeah, second phase, it loses the boss bit.
Yep.
Because 1991 programming.
Yep. It is very hard to track all your bits and bytes, and oh, that's a decent selection of spells. Hi there, Virus and Quake.
Dusty has defeated his Ogopogo and gets a Protect Ring for his troubles.
Yo.
It's not the worst.
Yeah, you certainly don't hate to see it. Like, obviously you wanted, like, the Magma Key or something else there. A little more progression. But, you know, I'll take an objective and a really good piece of armor. Yeah, chat's asking, so who goes Zot and who goes Hook?
I don't know. I like Zod. It's got 2 characters. And, you know, a key item.
Yeah, I could see Dusty just deciding that with the Fusoya at his party, doing the Hook route is perfectly viable. But he might just be doing it for the character check. That said, you know, when you see a Fusoya on your Hook route, suddenly you're a lot less scared of the Ashura you're facing down at the Rubicante spot.
Indeed. But yeah, since we already know what one of the 2 bosses is along the Hook route, Zot gives you 2 brand new ones.
Yeah, and plus you've got that Earth Crystal burning a hole in your pocket. You know, if it does turn out to be the Magma Key up there and you've done the full Hook route, you might start to think, oh, I wasted all this time fighting through these bosses that I didn't have to get underground. So there is a bit of a balancing act here, but I think I think Infinious is more likely than Dusty to say, no, I'm going up Zot first.
Also, this is fair what Charlock said in chat. It's technically 3 boss checks because you can peek the top of tower boss, which you can do pretty much immediately after you get underground.
That is also true. Though, for that matter, if you go Zot, you get a peek at the second Dwarf Castle boss.
That is also true.
So, either way, it's the same number of boss checks in total, though the Hook route does give you 1 immediately right here, as we see a Mop getting attacked by the Queen of Summons.
So yeah, I guess you get 3 boss checks, sort of, for each, and you know, the difference is you get 2 characters and a key item from Zot, and you get 1 character, which both of our runners have already picked up,
And underground access.
Underground access. But for all we know, that Zot key item could be the Magma Key.
Indeed. And so, as we see, you know, Dustygriff, Fusoya in tow is like, yeah, no, I can do the Hook route at this point. We'll see where Infinious heads, and whether or not it proves more fruitful than just going straight down the hook.
Yeah, what's something nasty that could be at the King Queen Evelyn spot?
Oh gosh, where do we start? Because if I recall, that spot's just like super fast.
Yeah, Asuka throwing out Wyvern immediately.
We also have an evil wall suggestion. Um, I'm pretty sure Pain Man, the Dark Knight Cecil, at the King Queen Evelyn spot is rough, though it might
Yeah.
be the Ruby spot that's rougher.
We do know it can't be Baigen because Baigen was in the waterfall.
Yeah, thank goodness Baigen hit the showers for this seed. It is the other rope. It is Leviathan. So the royal family of the summoned monsters is here on the hook route.
Yeah, that you're right. It's the King and Queen of down there in the King and Queen and leg.
Jinx. You're wonderful, and I appreciate every moment we share together.
You're tutorful. Take that.
But yeah, looks like Dusty is going right into the Ashura fight. Does not have wall on Fusoya, so is opting for the Star Veils.
Yeah, having wall would definitely be helpful, but 2 Star Veils will get you there.
Indeed. Okay, I thought that was vanilla for a second, but no, it is the dancing dolls.
Well, I'm sure that Fusoya's got some AoE magic right about now.
Right about now, it's time to quake. Fusoya goes up to Powell like, was it Quake? Let me show you how.
And
yeah.
Infinious going straight in. Okay, so there's a Magus Sisters at Dwarf Castle.
Okay.
Here's an Edward. If you like anchors, I guess. Sorry, Asuka.
If you like anchoring royals, pretending to be bards. That one didn't scan, sorry.
It was good at first. Oh,
Ah, the better Edward.
yeah. Will this check give Infinious the edge over Dusty?
Potentially. I didn't see what spells Fu got from the dancing dolls. But if Fu manages to pick up wall, this Ashura fight could become a lot faster.
Infinious putting that boomerang in the wrong hand for the back row glitch.
While Dustygriff accidentally let the wall fall off Fusoya, who lit 3 himself in the face.
Shocking.
'Twas. Speaking of lit 3, there's Quad 9s going out on that Odin over on Infinious' side, and that clears the tower.
So, yeah, Infinious doesn't actually have much gear for that edge. He equipped them with the boomerang and the dancing dagger.
which not the worst loadout I've ever ran on an edge before, but like it's also fairly early and there's still plenty of looting to do, plus some gated weapon shops could have ninja swords. And that's a siren, so
I mean, sirens are always good to have, and in, the limited amount of funds you get in this flag set, every little bit helps.
indeed. Um, but what that does mean is that the Zot check was a complete blank outside of the extra power of between Edge and the two Fusoya levels.
I mean, it's also 2 more bosses defeated to give Fu more spells.
True. And if Fu does manage to get up to wall, that will allow Infinious to get through that Ashura fight just a little bit faster. Plus, having the extra character to take actions against Ashura will probably help a fair bit.
No, I was looking at the wrong side. Did Dusty peek who was on top of tower?
I didn't see either. I'm sure if he did, chat will let us know. It is a blue robe.
Okay.
So, who knows which one it is?
It could be free, it could be...
Enterprise?
Yes, we'll go with that.
But Dusty has the Falcon right now.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon?
Punch? No, the better joke would have been, that's Captain to you. Illusions for sale down here in Dwarf Castle. Something that's a lot nicer when you can have a bit more in the way of disposable income, but...
Hey, who likes requirements?
I do.
Who likes dialogue?
I really don't. I'm trying to go fast.
Okay, well... Look.
At you? Gladly.
Required... Wow. Okay, first of all. Required dialogue.
Yep. So this is our second boss objective, which means our runners just need to run down 2 to 3 key items. So the nature of how our runners are going to be approaching the seed has evolved significantly. You don't need to worry about checking any places where bosses are. You don't need to worry about any character checks if you're comfortable with your party. You just need to go and get key items as fast as you can.
So, what you're saying is... Gotta go fast.
It is a race.
First annual race to the end of the race.
That's... yes. So, unfortunately, depending on which character... We'll see what character Dusty picks up here. But one of the things I've noticed especially the Swiss rounds, was that sometimes Edge was more of a liability than an asset if you couldn't find the gear for him. But with the ability to throw things...
There's a paladin.
I mean, if they find the Excalibur that's in the pool, that'll be incredible.
Yeah. And there go the Magus Sisters.
Yeah, the Golbez spot, not a lot of HP. It's more of a story boss than anything.
Yeah.
So that 2000 HP that's there is split 3 ways, and when your Quake's doing about 3k per hit, yeah.
Yeah. Splitting up all that HP and
Yeah, but we'll see what happens here. Well, Dusty, for his trouble clearing out Dwarf, gets
oh, that's a hard required dwarf castle right there.
double value all the way across the sky.
There's no sky down here. It's underground.
Well, we're taking it back overground. See? Now you can see the sky.
I saw the sky. I had to close my eyes. The sun is bright.
You know what I just realized?
No.
What if, and bear with me,
Uh-huh.
what if the twin harp is the pink tail?
Yes.
That would put Dusty in go mode with direct access to Zeromus.
Pretty spicy. Could we see the fabled sub-hour?
Right? Though, yeah, no, we have access to sirens if you need a little more money. At the very least, Infinious can steal some. But Dusty also has the ability to go into the tower to fight the boss at the top there for a little extra cash influx.
Dusty needs a good weapon for that Cecil, though.
Yeah, and there is an Excalibur in the pool. I also wouldn't hate checking trap chests, or say going down to the Fey March, seeing if there's a free boss there that you can cheese, maybe with cover strats or something.
Infinious wasting no time going to Dwarf Castle. Well, Luca's trying to waste his time.
Right?
And I think it's almost time for us to stop talking for a couple minutes.
Yeah. Anyway, everyone sit back, relax, and enjoy the tunes.
Maybe a little premature.
Yeah. But yeah, Infinious is going to clear out his doctor luggage, going to see that Cecil. We'll see whether or not he keeps it. But yeah, that twin harp will send him straight along his way in Dustygriff's footsteps.
Speaking of Dustygriff's footsteps, we've got Edward's footsteps, and now we do the quiet thing.
FF5 music always hits that special place in
Yeah.
my heart.
Yeah, I'm having a moment.
Yeah. But that's a rat tail. Not the tail we were looking for, but a spicy one nonetheless, as Dustygriff gets to 3 out of the 4 objectives needed.
I mean, Rat Tail could always have Pink Tail. Also, we now know that top of tower is the gauntlet.
Yep. We still have a couple of key item checks left on the table for our runners, even if the rat tail does not pan out. No one's gone down to the Fey March. No one's checked Sheila 1. We still don't know what the gauntlet is holding on to.
And Dusty checking that Rat Tail. Oh. So that's a moon.
Yeah, that does ask a lot more questions. Namely, at what point do you say, heck this overworld, we're going to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism?
Space!
Because that is a large number of key items, though the way that the algorithm weights those checks, it is a little less likely to have key items in general. So,
Also, laughing at the Fey March chest.
yeah, always fun to see the underground magma key. Infinious picking up some tents. Camping gear never hurts.
And Dustygriff right behind him.
Yeah, we'll see who our Fey March bosses are down here.
What if it's King, Queen, Evelyn, and Leg?
Well,
We know
no.
one of them is in Baron Castle, but not which one.
True. That would be hilarious. Infinious electing to put the crystal armor on Cecil for now. Crystal armor is some of the most powerful armor Cecil can wear. On the other hand, it does mean that Cecil cannot be berserked. Which doesn't really matter when you're up against a karate man.
Yeah, we've got a Kapooper and a Karate.
So, one of these fights is straightforward for our runners. Both of them do have the Paladin Cecil that will allow them to short circuit the Karate's script as long as Cecil.
Not like that, it's not.
Oof, that's brutal. As long as Cecil doesn't get punched, that fight will be over relatively quickly.
Yeah, if you have Paladin Cecil, that boss is scripted to end if Cecil hits Yang after his second kick.
Yeah. The other side, CPU, is a boss that as long as you can output damage on it, you will, and heal up a bit, you can win. It just takes forever and a day, even in the best case.
Now we've got a double Yang going on here.
Alright. And it looks like Infinious is going to be through.
Yep.
While Dustygriff elected to take it a little bit safer. Does have the full party up.
And gets the win as well. Oh! Well.
There we go. I think we've solved that problem you were worried about of
Yeah,
finding a weapon for Cecil.
it's not the X-Cal in the pool, but so both our runners getting a crystal sword for their Cecils at the same time, the Cecils that they used to cut that fight short.
Yeah, it's your reward for knowing the cheese.
That is one of those times where doing a Fey March boss that doesn't result in progress is 100% a-okay.
Yeah, I think we can go so far as to call that one an optimal play.
Yeah.
But both of our runners, hot on each other's heels here in the moment. Infinious will eventually have to go over and do that twin harp unless there's some ridiculous confluence of events. Because that is the gate, one, to an objective, and two, to the moon.
But now they're splitting off again. Dusty going to go check Tamara. And
Yeah, Infinious flying up to do our Sheila 1 check.
does Sheila have the goods?
No, but she does have a chaotic neutral. That is a Luca key.
Sheila's not even on the second floor.
So, Luca key is an interesting one because it does let you check the item before the boss. It's also important to note that our runners have not found Demist yet. So that dragon could be holding an important key item somewhere.
Indeed.
I believe both of our runners did see that the package character was Rosa, but did not follow that through to its conclusion. And given that the two objective boss hunts are off the table, I don't expect either of them to go back there any day soon, if it is demist. But then we're just talking about very low probability scenarios.
I mean, I've seen worse.
I know you have. But in the meantime, both of our runners are doing a bit of spelunking.
Ooh, Spelunky is a good game. We should watch that one afterwards.
Yeah. Dusty is going to give us a good look at what the key item down here is, while Infinious is going to give us our second music check of the night. So,
not gonna lie, my brain got a bit flipped on which screen was which, and I was confused as to why the Dark Elf was just sitting there in the sealed cave crystal room.
Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled FF5 music. Yeah. So that is a very spicy find for Dustygriff there, as Infinious is going to be getting his rat tail momentarily.
Yeah, that was the pan, which is 2 more free key item checks.
Yep. Dustygriff taking out the antlion here because, haha, Crystal Sword Seesaw go burr. And we'll see what that pan turns into. If it does turn into the pink tail, then Dustygriff is very much in the lead by a fair bit. On the other hand, if the pan turns into something, if the pan does not lead to the pink tail, or exactly both halves of Forge, then this race might be a little bit closer than it looks, depending on where checks go.
I usually keep checks in the pantry.
I usually keep them in my desk drawer.
And Dustygriff gonna go straight to whack Yang over the head.
Yep. Infinious heading directly underground. Does not pass go, does not raise a lunar whale. Heading into Tomra.
Well, that's a spoon to go with your pan.
I mean, we're getting the full kitchen set together, which is great. I just moved, so I really need to get that together.
Well, I have some good news for you. You just need to find a pan and you can get a spoon.
Heck yeah.
Cause like, if you really think about it, for like the time period, that pan's probably like cast iron. That probably like causes some brain damage.
Wait, is iron a black magic spell or a white magic spell?
It's a vitamin.
Oh, because I was just confused because I wasn't sure who was casting it.
Well, Sheila too was kind of a bust. She had her husband's cat claw.
So that's honestly really good news for Infinious right there.
Yep, as he prepares to go to the moon. And Dustygriff is also gonna go to the moon. So yeah, Infinious going to the moon instead of diving at that Luca key. Definitely helpful.
Yeah, but both of the runners at this point making, a different, fairly long check that didn't pan out. Dustygriff, obviously, with the sealed cave leading to the pan, leading to not much of import, whereas Infinious checked the earth crystal and I don't think he's holding up anything from that check at this point.
Yeah. But, as Zoe points out in chat, Dusty has the 10 key item bonus, which Infinious does not.
Yeah, and that 10 key item bonus can be a difference maker, especially now that they're going into the moon. If Infinious hits a few whammies on his first few boss checks down here, the lost experience from not having the 10 key items doubling it could mean that he's a little less leveled than he wants to be when he hits go mode.
Small child on the moon.
Yep, that is another Porum.
Yep. And there are no dupes, so not gonna get the chance to take her, although I don't think Infinious would if he had the opportunity. Just call it a hunch.
Yeah, at this point, I think both of our runners are fairly comfortable with their parties. And let's face it, 3 beefy boys, a Fusoya, and a white mage is a very respectable endgame party for this game.
So, looking like Infinious is gonna go bottom up.
Yeah, well, Dustygriff is heading over to check out Cave Bahamut first.
Cave Value, as it is also known.
Indeed.
There's
the
a
nice
sparkle.
Well, we'll see who's here.
Or inching ever closer to the Wyvern.
Yeah, we could be inching all the way there right
late.
now.
Yeah, you zerk that Crystal Sword Cecil, you just win after a while.
Yep. Yeah, the Count has some interesting mechanics that I don't personally fully understand. But because it uses the ATB system, if you have someone RA1 zerked up, it will just never fall off.
You just keep clogging the queue.
Yeah, plus Plague as a flying enemy does take extra damage from things like bows and arrows.
Oh, there's
Okay.
the Wyvern. Guarding 2 key items in the ribbon room.
Yeah, Infinious not quite fast enough to get the Star Veil up at maximum battle speed, so gonna go all the way down to Wyvern Standard Time.
Yeah, hitting Wyvern Standard Time.
Yep. And as we see, Infinious does have 2 Star Veils up, 3 Star Veils up.
Also, it looks like Dusty basically went full berserk on his party.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you have so many Zerkers, Plague is no longer an issue. And we'll see what key item we find here.
Oh, there's the X-Cal. Found it.
Always a little too late.
Also, and of course, the funny thing is, if Infinious had gone there, he would have something for Edge to throw.
Indeed. That's one of the nice things about having Edge over, say, Kane when you know Valvalis is out of the way, is having that extra utility of being able to dart things. Though, of course, Edge weapons in general are a little harder to come by.
Yeah, I think Infinious still doesn't have anything really good equipped to that edge, unless I missed something, which is quite
I
possible.
I think you're correct. As you can see, Edge is putting out like 500 damage on this wyvern.
That was Infinious only just now getting to the part of the fight where Byron gets the wall up.
Yep. Um,
I knew Wyvern standard time was slow, but well, any hoodles.
yeah. That is a rude boss out of the way, a tower key, and a Bacchus wine.
Bacchus one is nice. Tower key. You have to make the decision if you go back there now, or if you just clear Moon, or if you leave a save here, check tower, and if it's nothing good, reset up on the Moon.
Yeah, that does put Infinious at 9 key items. So, if when he does find go mode, he will 100% of the time be at that 10 KI boost.
Also, Dusty going top down.
I don't hate it. He's looking for exactly
Oh, hi.
one item, but both of our runners finding some very interesting friends today.
Yeah, so there's a nice little demist.
Yeah, knocking down the party one by one by one. Though that does leave tons of room for Cecil to use cover strats.
And if yeah, I was gonna say, just cast Blink on him.
Yeah. Uh, would you like me to explain how cover works, or do you want to?
You can do it.
So, as long as a party member is in critical HP and Cecil does not use the defend command or has like any number of status effects on him, he will auto cover party members, in addition to being able to cover party members directly by using the cover command on them. So what this means is that if you let your party get into critical HP, you can have Cecil take all of the incoming physical hits, and the rest of the party can just chill and do whatever. Blink, of course, is a super, super good spell that allows a party member to ignore the next 2 physical hits incoming. And since Demus does 3 punches, then turns to mist, it is really easy to set up blink cover strats against her.
And Dustygriff, taking a Warlock fight.
Yeah, Warlocks are actually a fairly good chunk of experience. And as long as you get them silenced, either through the use of a mute bell or the mute spell, they go down very easily.
Yeah, he had Busoya throw out that mute cast on all of them.
Yeah, plus, if you are able to get life glitches off on them, that just helps so much.
But yeah, in these later game spots, Demus can be really a long fight because you lose so much time to it turning into mist.
Yep, but luckily for Infinious, Nuke is a very good spell. And that's just some Dragoon armor for his trouble, but that is yet another check down on the blue planet that he has access to.
Yep.
Yeah, so the real question is going to be, when does Infinious think he wants to leave the moon? And the answer might be after he does all the checks up here, because he does have that pass. So if he full clears the moon, he knows he will never have to come back up here.
Yeah, but you also have to like stop and wonder, okay, well, what if Rydia's mom has the pink tail and it's just free to go grab now?
Yeah. And that's where you start getting into like the head games of randomizer racing, where you're thinking, okay, well, what if it is the pigtail? Did my opponent get this go down in check, or did they keep going? If my opponent is also clearing the moon, did they start from the top, or did they start from the bottom like me? You know, there are a lot of questions that our runners are probably asking of themselves and of their opponent that can't be answered because both of them are playing blind to the other's progress.
Well, we do have a Bahamut.
Yep, and that Bahamut is slowly ticking down. Fu going to get the wall up on Cecil probably before the count finishes, but we'll see if Fu has a chance to get another wall up on anyone else.
And Dusty coming in down here, probably gonna take those two bosses that Infinious just did.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure Infinious meant to reflect a wall onto Bahamut, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the fight is over, but I'm pretty sure that was a miss menu.
Well, that's finally another key item for Infinious, and a couple more checks down on the blue planet.
Yep. So that is a total of 4 checks down on Earth for Infinious. Additionally, I think at this point we know what all of the moon bosses are / have outside of who's ever at the Crystal Sword altar.
Which we're about to find out, because that's the one check that Infinious has left. Well, except for top, but...
Yeah, Infinious still has to do the Paledom spot and Cave Bahamut, whereas Dustygriff has completed those 2 checks and is now doing the checks that Infinious has just finished up.
Yeah, they're basically both full clearing the moon in the opposite order, and probably will be finished around the same time if they both are full clearing. We're wyverns on the moon. We carry mega nuke.
Almost a rhyme.
It's a slant rhyme. There's an evil wall.
Oh yeah. And Chad is pointing out that while I was paying attention to the wyvern fight, Dustygriff bailed on the turtle.
Yeah.
So that's a wyvern down for both runners.
Yeah, which means both of our runners can full clear tower. They know that 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 blue robe at the top is gonna be that gauntlet, which I'm sure they're probably trying to avoid doing, because even at this level it shouldn't be a problem for any of them, but it just takes so much time when you've got those 5 fights.
And those 5 battle start animations.
hmm And like, you're over an hour into the seed. Uh, Time is very much on your mind.
And of course, you're thinking, well, if it is Pinktail there and my opponent did it, they'd be done by now.
Right. And Infinious not getting value out of that evil wall. And it looks like he's gonna go back to the blue planet and just skip uh Kainatso at the top of Moon, as well as Cave Bahamut.
I I don't hate this play, given the sheer number of key items he has in his pocket. Additionally,
Yeah.
we've seen most of like the ridiculously rude bosses. We've seen Golbez, we've seen Wyvern. Everything else that's here on the blue planet, he can just handle.
Well, and of course we know that fading Cave Bahamut is the right call, because it's just
Yep.
that X-Cal when we've already got a Crystal Sword.
We still don't know what the key item at Kainaso is yet.
Yeah.
So that could prove disastrous.
Well,
Looks
that's
like,
underwhelming, but
to say the least, at this point, neither of our runners take the time to even check who that character is unless they are feeling like they need a hard anchor. But even then, both of them have the cursed ring they pulled out of the Troya Treachery.
yeah, between having Sid and a cursed ring, like you're kind of fine. So I guess we're gonna see what the tower holds for us.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Dusty opted to hop down right away to see what Demist has. And is probably going to get a little disappointed.
Probably gonna be a quick reset. Yep. God, what's left? Oh, Pale Dim. I think that's our last Sparkle.
Yeah, we've seen Ogo, obviously. We've seen Plague. We've seen now Paledin. Yeah, I think that's all of them.
Yeah, we've seen Dealers. Granted, like, how many boss spots have we not seen? Just the 2 on the moon?
We saw all of the bosses on the moon. We just didn't clear one.
I
of
mean,
them.
not moon, Giant. I meant
Mhm.
Giant. Yeah, 2 and Giant we have not seen.
We
Other than
haven't
that,
seen. We know who the Baiga spot is. We don't know who's on the Odin throne. We don't know who's on the Baron throne.
Right. But even still, yeah, that's very few boss fights left, so it's not too surprising that we have exhausted all the lunar sparkles. And Infinious gotta skip the gauntlet, just getting the super cannon check.
Yeah, I don't hate this play. Like, he knows it's a gauntlet up there. He knows it's a gauntlet that's been available for a while. All right. That's an adamant rock. So,
Yep. That gives Infinious 2 possible key items to get go mode, and he's going for Baron, so that'll be another 2 checks that can be done here, as Dustygriff gets his Baron key.
Mm-hmm.
So now does Dusty try to finish the moon?
Yeah, does Dusty feel equipped to take on that Kainazo again with the
Yeah.
levels he's gotten from all of the other checks he's done?
Oh, looks like he's gonna go to Crystal Sword. But, yeah, he now has the Tower Key and the Baron Key. Remember we thought this would be the fabled sub hour?
What fools we were.
And okay, so that was elements in the Baigen spot.
Yeah, so our Rubicon
get
Pay
nuked
is still
real
loose.
fast. Yeah, one nuke from Fu at this level, you're not gonna get past the Mylon Zed part.
Mm-hmm. Infinious, thinking to check the Kainazo spot, instead elects to go down and check the Odin Throne.
A bold play, especially considering I don't think he has saved.
I think he's just relying on power overwhelming at this point. And honestly, I don't blame him.
Hopefully it's enough for... Oh. Free. It's free.
Oh yeah.
Free for free. And yeah, just nuke them out before the script can even... But at least doing this means that once he's done with this fight, he doesn't have to leave Baron and come back. He just goes straight to...
Yeah, Dusty has cleared that Crystal Sword altar, got the Dragoon Spear. He's exiting out. We'll see whether or not he goes back in for Kainazo. And yep.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
With the stick of silence. Yeah, that's honestly a decent pickup for a Porum who's in desperate need of a little more white magic oomph. Okay, maybe not desperate need, but it never hurts.
Dusty reset out of Kainatsu, and Infinious didn't even go there. Oh, there's the leg.
Let me show you how, Dijon.
Okay. But Dusty gonna give that Kainatsu another go, and Infinious is just gonna nuke the leg.
Three to 5 minutes on high.
There's a Yang that's probably gonna be immediately dismissed. Oh, you joined! Oh, you left.
Yeet the Yang.
Ooh. Only a ninja hat from the Kainatsu.
All right. So that does mean that Infinious has slightly better odds of finding Go mode here.
No, but that is a decent year for Edge, so
Yeah, Infinious is probably very happy to see that.
it's at least not the worst, so... Oh no. No, he's going back to the moon that we know is not anything. So, yeah, I think that means, if my calculations are correct, I believe Go mode is either... One of the items is behind the Alt Gauntlet, and the other is behind CPU King. If my calculations are correct. Hmm. So, I guess that opens up the question of, can Infinious do these two checks on the moon in the time that it takes Dusty to get through Baron? Knowing what's at Baron, I think Infinious would take slightly longer than Dusty would. So,
Yeah. And of course, Infinious doesn't know what two of the spots are up here. I imagine if he had checked either Plague or Kaidazo earlier, he might be less inclined to come back. But when you're leaving two of your four remaining spots up here on the moon, it does make for a sensible play, especially when you know Dustygriff is not a fan of the moon.
there's also... Infinious has not done Sealed Cave yet. Or that whole chain with the pan.
Correct.
Dusty, I believe, never did Zot.
And the Zot did not chain out. So that's a lot faster of a check than the Sealed Cave is.
And Infinious taking that plague down. Gonna be disappointed with the next gal. But he can at least yeet it. And Dusty's gonna get that Murasame that he can't do anything with.
But this does mean Dusty is in a good position after cleaning up this Odin throne very quickly, given that it's King Queen Emblem, to just go and do, say, the full tower.
But would he do Zot first? Knowing that that's the Alt Gauntlet at the top of tower.
That's an interesting question. And I think the answer is no. I mean, it might be yes. But Dusty might be going for, like, the metagame strategy of, okay, I found everything pretty early on. If it was up Zot, Infinious would have it by now. Like, there is... Given that we're almost pushing an hour 30 into the seed, there is a lot of room for these runners to be getting into each other's heads. Based off of neither of them being done yet.
Yeah, this far into the seed, especially when you've exhausted most of the item checks yourself, you've got to be thinking that your opponent is about to hit done at any moment.
Yeah, like Dusty not even bothering to walk that silent staff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Infinious, coming out of the initial wave, fairly unscathed, all speaking.
Yeah.
Does get the Thor Rage queued up in time to avoid the next wave as well.
So we gotta hope Dusty doesn't do the super cannon and then leave because he doesn't want to do all gauntlet.
Yeah, but I think at this point, because I think all Dusty has left after this super cannon check is the top of the tower and the Fame Arch boss in terms of key item checks. So I think if you're Dusty, you're like, well, I've only got so many key items left. I think he's just in full clear mode.
Yeah, either way, if he doesn't do top of tower, then he's going to the other thing that could be go mode. Oh, yeah, there he goes.
Yep. And Infinious has found out that the rest of the moon was haunted and is heading immediately back down, not resetting out, and choosing to keep the experience in the ninja hat.
He does have a ninja.
So, Dijon, your choices are a CPU at Leviathan or Alt Gauntlet at the top of tower. Which one do you pick? Because I look at both of those and say, I can't tell which one is worse.
I honestly, at this point in the seed, I pick Alt Gauntlet at the top of tower because it's not gonna be a challenge. Like, it's going to take time, but between Fu and, Cecil, you've got enough damage, particularly AoE spells with Fu, to, breeze through that fight. CPU is a bit less assured, in my opinion.
Dusty is picking the other option while Infinious is choosing to go into the sealed cave. A check he hasn't done yet, but unfortunately a check we know will turn into a pan and then just a spoon.
Mm-hmm. And a cat claw.
I guess cat claw is technically something you can put on the edge over the dancing dagger, but
Oh, I think he swapped the dancing dagger with the Murasame.
Oh right, we got Mura Boomerang now. I think that's probably just the better overall setup.
Yeah. But let this be a lesson. Don't fade Alt Gauntlet at top of tower.
Yeah, and...
Oh, Dusty's just straight up medioing this.
Oh yeah, he's just gonna throw rocks. The Globe 199 is rough, but
I think Dusty's just saying, nah, I'm just gonna throw full damage here.
Like,
and
he
get
doesn't need
through.
everyone to survive.
Doesn't need anyone to survive, and honestly, I think he's just hoping that with a few good Zerk hits, the CPU will go down before the second one has a chance to come out. Infinious, unfortunately, getting the pan here, which is a key item in his head. He walks out 100% of the time.
Yeah. Like, when you don't know the way that we do, that it's not going to lead to anything of value. Like, you look at that and you see 2 key item checks for minimal effort.
Yep.
And
there's the
pigtail.
pigtail. So if our runners had taken that CPU earlier, this could have been a very, very fast seed. However, I don't blame either of them for fading it, because that fight takes forever, especially at much lower levels.
Which means that Alt Gauntlet has the Legend Sword.
Correct. Infinious is through at this point. Unfortunately, he's going to be getting some bad news really soon.
Which, between the two, as things are set up now, redeeming Pinktail is much faster than forging.
Yep.
You've already got the hovercraft right there. There's barely any dialogue to go through.
Just a Bahamut orb for the pigtail, which, as we have yet to see Iridian the Seed, is basically just completely blank. Dusty flying straight over to Troya. I'm not going to pass go, not going to collect $200, but it is time to kick some butt. It is time for Zerobus, and Zerobus is the king of his own country. That's why we've got the flags out in chat, right, Dijon?
Yes.
Cool. I'm glad I finally got this right.
So, no, actually, the Z on the flag means, you should say hi to Scala. Z made like 500 something sprites that Zeromus can be.
Yep, and we're going to find out very shortly whose butt we're going to kick tonight. But at this point, I would just like to take a brief moment while we see the butt coming out and thank Randomania for being a continued place where quality free enterprise action can happen over the course of the tournament. I would like to thank Oscar for rolling this mess. And I would like to thank our tracker, whose name unfortunately is escaping me at the moment because it changed at the last minute.
Aegis?
Yes, thank you.
Also, with this sprite, do they change Zeromus to cast Mute?
No, but definitely part of my soul got stolen for forgetting Aegis's name.
Hey, Stella.
Yeah?
Was it legs?
Now I'm the one who's a poor unfortunate soul.
but I don't know, like, it was a long one, but through all the flotsam and jetsam of this seed, Dusty has finally made it to the final fight, and
Yeah, he has made contract with the enemy and is doing a fairly good job of getting through it. The first Big Bang was nerfed appropriately. Threw out that silk web, and we'll see whether or not that was. I wasn't paying close attention to what Ursulibus was doing beforehand, so that might be the second nerf. It might also just be for pure slow value.
also, Infinious is actually doing top of tower before getting that spoon.
I appreciate the commitment.
But, you know, even with the Big Bang, oh, we've got rocks, and it looks like Biden just divine for Dustygriff.
But yeah, that is the crash, shake, and boom. Ursulibus is down for Dustygriff's side, and I think I hear someone knocking at the metaphorical door. GG's.
Hey, GG's.
GG.
So, what a seed. What a seed.
Painful.
Yeah. How were you feeling when you picked up that twin harp?
It felt like things were moving fast. I was like, oh great, okay, I'll immediately do this and see where things head from there, because all I needed was one more item after that, Pinktail or Legend Adamant, to be on my way. I guess the seed had other things in mind today, so that's okay. And yeah, it was very strange one to route, because it felt good to do Moon at that time that I did for levels and things like that, but I really feel bad leaving things behind a lot of the time like that. And yeah, it hurt a little this time around, but luckily I think it worked out well enough.
Yeah, like, the really interesting thing about this seed was the moon was just a complete blank. You had full go mode the moment you got underground, between the top of tower with the legend sword and the pigtail at that CPU fight. So
yeah, I was really considering doing that CPU fight immediately when I got down there. I may have sat my menu for a second after I did the Yang fight, because I mean, you get that crystal sword, you just feel unbeatable at that point in the siege. You can basically do anything. But I was looking at it, I was like, this really won't take that long, but it's kind of annoying, and I kind of hate doing this where I have to do one fight and then reset up for the other fight, and when the other fight's still going to be a little bit of a slog, but really wouldn't have been that much of a slog. And now obviously slightly kicking myself for not just listening to my gut and doing it, but at the end of the day, I routed what I thought was right at the time, and yeah, painful.
Yeah, and of course, you also managed to completely fade going up the Tower of Zot.
Right. Yeah, I was considering doing that. I kind of hemmed and hawed about it a little bit, and honestly, I went and got the hovercraft from Damsian at that point before where Zot was open, and well, Zot was open the whole time, but when we had the hook, because I was like, I just need to get a cutscene here so I can think if I want to just go straight to Zot. Do I want to go to the hook route and see if Fu's there? Of course, Fu's there, and it's Azura, which I know it's a fight I can do with a rune axe and everything. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to not do Zot at all at this point, and maybe I'll route it in. And then when I got that twin harp, I thought I might do it then, and I was just like, oh, it's a lot of weird decision making this seed. It was kind of lucky that I got to skip that entirely.
Yeah, as it turned out, the one thing of value up the Tower of Zot was everyone's favorite ninja.
Oh, of course.
You know, as ridiculous as the seed might have been, you managed to, you know, get your way out from under the seed.
Yeah, somehow or another, it feels like it feels like the seed really did not want to allow much of anything. But when you have a Crystal Sword Cecil and a Fu, you know you're going to be able to go fast. You know you're going to be able to clear things quite fast. So Moon really felt like a good choice this seed, but wow, was it ever not?
Yeah, so how does it feel to be part of your world? The world of being 1-0 going into the next match?
Feels pretty good. Infinious is extremely good, so I was really that's why I was extremely nervous. I mean, I'm always nervous if I go down a rabbit hole as large as the moon and basically come up with nothing. But at this point in the tournament, it's just so tight, and all runners are so tight. So, I mean, it feels good to have the win up and have a little bit of leeway, so to say. But at the same time, you know, easy enough for Infinious to win 2 straight after this and me be out. So I'm probably just going to continue to play the same way I've been playing and hope that's good enough.
When are those next two anyway?
Next one will be tomorrow night at 9 Eastern, and the one after that will be Sunday morning, I think at 9 Eastern AM.
Getting that one in early.
Yeah. That'll be a.
Well, I
early
mean,
morning
if
one.
necessary.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll see. But I think with how good Infinious is, that's a pretty good probability here.
I mean, like, especially like this, far into, what are we at, top 8 now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like, you don't get to top 8 without it being, like, a very likely chance of going, like, 3 matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, I'll be honest, if you're someone who likes watching back your own races, this was a super exciting one. Watching both of you basically switch positions throughout the entire race. This was a really exciting match, and thank you for putting it on.
Yeah, no worries. I'm glad to have played it. I definitely will watch it back. I kind of love watching races back to see how everything went and how my decisions kind of compared against whoever I play against. In this case, Infinious, and yeah, I'm sure it's kind of. This could have went either way very easily, and I'm sure with the choices Infinious made, it could have went either way very easily. So, no, very much GG's to Infinious on this one. I'm looking forward to the next.
I mean, I'm sure everyone's looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, and any final words you want to share before we get back to just blabbering on about what Infinious is up to?
Thank you all for commentating and restreaming this one. Appreciate it. And again, GG's to Infinious. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the next match. I'm sure this one was very tight. I can't wait to watch it back. And I'm sure the next one will be just as tight. And yeah, I'm kind of hoping it goes to 3 because I kind of love racing this tournament. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, GG's.
Yep, and GG's to you once again. Over on Infinious' side, Sid is down after eating a nuke followed by a big bang to the face, but Ursulamus is pretty much under control. This counter nuke is coming out onto Paladin Cecil. Porum is going to throw Gear 3 on that to patch that right up.
That was a nice nerfed big bang right there.
Yep. Fu throwing out a nuke. Ursulamus throwing out another nuke, and forgetting that she has to pump her magic power for the big bang, meaning that its damage is approximately halved.
Once again, just the fun of early, like 1991 SNES code.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting the way that Zeromus' script works, but we don't have time to get into it. Those are falling rocks. This fight
Another
is
part
all
of its
but
script.
over.
Yep, those rocks are part of Zeromus' script when you get to the last, I forget the number, 1,000 health.
I think it's 12k.
It's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it in case I was wrong.
Yeah.
Also, it was funny, we got to see the post-destruction death of Kane over on Dusty's side. And speaking of post-destruction, there goes Ursulamus.
Yeah, Infinious is finished with an official time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 32 minutes. GG's.
Ah yes, 44 minutes and 32 minutes.
Look.
At you? Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, I think I heard another knock on the metaphorical door. How you feeling, Infinious?
Not too bad actually, despite losing. I know, having a look at the having peeked in once I finished, knowing that I basically went 27 out of 28. I feel like Dusty did not do all of that. I feel pretty good about how that played out. Just got unlucky.
Like, honestly, both of you wound up full clearing the moon. So, it's just one of those where, if you had decided to do the alt gauntlet before going into the sealed cave, you might have had it.
Actually, I would argue. My feeling was that if I actually did the the other thing was just that basically because I figured that Dusty would have done sealed because I basically did the Penguin special and got punished for it, right? So when I did Super Cannon Room and then decided to not. I think that point when I decided to not to play top of tower, even though I knew it was alt gauntlet, that was probably if I had done the alt gauntlet at that point, I think I win by like 10 minutes. I did feel pretty ahead about these things. So
yeah, this was just one of those seeds where everything was laid out in front of you. You just had to have done the keyless tower, or I forget where Adamant was, but the Legend Sword was at that CPU fight down in the Fey March.
Oh no, it was Pink.
Other way
CPU.
around. Yeah.
Pink-tail CPU because I should know.
Yes.
So I go halfway through to going to seal to the CPU fight. So hang on, no, I actually know where everything is now. I should just do keyless. At that point, I should just do do the tower fight, because I figured that was safer than doing CPU.
Mm-hmm. So what drew you to going to the moon before finishing up the blue planet?
I was racing Dusty, and I figured that Dusty would full clear Earth. So if Dusty, and I figured my thinking was that if Dusty does that, this is how I get my edge. But having gone through and but it turns out he also faded things, which to me was a bit off type, or off brand. So this would be one where I'll have to watch back and hear what he said in his interview, because it's interesting to me.
Yeah, he wound up completely fading the Tower of Zot, which meant that you two were basically rocking the same party in the end game, except he had the king instead of the edge.
Yeah, that was actually an interesting choice. That was a very interesting choice, I think. When Cecil came up at Dwarf Castle, who do I get rid of at this point? Because I'm clearly keeping Cecil because the odds of hitting Excalibur was just so high, and I kind of narrowed it down to Edge or Kane. I think in retrospect I probably should have just dumped Edge, but I don't know. But that's one of those things where I didn't want to spend too much time on that decision because I figured at the end of the day it wasn't going to matter too much. But yeah, I think having a secondary berserker ready at now was probably better than having access to darting things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you were sitting there with that twin harp in pocket, that darkness crystal in pocket,
Yeah.
that's always one of those exciting ones where it's like, okay, this seed could be over at any minute.
Yeah.
What's your overall way that you handle situations like that? Because I know that as someone who's sitting here on the sidelines, I get super overwhelmed when I have all those choices on the table.
Yeah, for me it depends on what my party composition is. If I probably would have stayed on Blue Planet more if I didn't have, say, a Fusia and a Crystal Sword Cecil. But I figured that with those two in hand, I looked at my levels going, level 25 Cecil with a Crystal Sword. Yeah, that's probably good enough to handle the moon. And I should probably get my levels there. No need to grind or anything. But if my party was a bit weaker, I probably would have stayed on the Blue Planet a bit more. But I'm not. But I think I don't know, it's also interesting because there's also racing considerations because against Dusty where I've faded three Earth checks. It's and that's the top of tower after I forget what hack was in Twin Harp, right? So at that point that top of tower is Alt Gauntlet. I don't know. I'm not. It's interesting to know what I would have gone. I don't know. It's possible I probably would have gone to Titus at that point, but I don't know. It's hard to know.
Yeah,
because I do feel like CPU is probably the last thing on my mind because that was going to be an awful fight no matter what party I had.
Yeah, all in all, this was a super well-run race from both of you. It was neck and neck right up until the very end.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where I figure I'm just happy, although I lost by 10 minutes in the end. I think I made a call that just didn't pay off, and that's kind of how randoms go random sometimes. I think my decision to go to the moon as soon as I did doing bottom up, I think that to me makes sense. Probably maybe you can make an argument I probably should have just did the full tower clear, but no. I think given my read of what Dusty would have done, I figured that if it was there, I lose already. So it turns out it was there and I lost.
Yep. And so some days, rando's gonna rando like that, but both of you played extremely well. Is there anything you're gonna look to adjust or think about going forward to the next race?
I think that honestly, I think the fact that Dusty kind of went off script, I think that's gonna be to me that's an interesting call. Like I kind of feel like if I don't know, Dusty might have been done a lot sooner if he had done that, because like you have gotten that pink tail sooner, like you have just been go mode way sooner. So I don't know. I feel like with the fact that he went off type, means I probably have to rethink of a few things. Who knows? I might just actually do that or gauntlet next time.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. It will be an exciting one. Both of you were incredible to watch, and I can't wait to watch the next race.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, around this time tomorrow. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Actually, we'll have we'll actually have had breakfast probably. So that's also neat. But yeah, thank you to both you, Dijon and Leggy, for doing comms. Thank you, Aegis, I believe, with tracking, and thank you, Oscar, for rolling this nice seed where we had to fight Ogopogo, because she does love an Ogopogo fight. Yeah, I'm gonna head off. I'll catch everyone there next time.
Yep. And best of luck. And once again, GG's on a well-run race.
Yeah, GG's.
And with that, our time here, friends, comes to a close. But don't worry. I hear, lurking in the shadows, there's another race brewing.
Ooh.
Not like in the shadows, it's well stated all over the place. We're gonna go over and raid Free Enterprise with the Dia versus Penguinator match that's going on. It's their game 2. Penguinator is up a game. Be sure to give both the runners all of your love, all of your hype, and whatever you do not spoil this race, or you too will have required Ogopogo haunting you.
You will be under the sea.